Meeting to order at this time. Let's start with roll call.
Councilmember Budashevsky.
Here.
Councilmember Dahl.
Here.
Councilmember Deschler.
Here.
Councilmember Cole.
Here.
Councilmember LaRoche.
Here.
Councilmember Parsons.
Here.
And Mayor Adams.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have an agenda in front of us. I'm looking for a motion for that agenda. Nancy?
Make a motion to approve.
Thank you. Olga?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. So next we have a proclamation, and this refers to the National Police Week, which is May 13th to the 19th, and Peace Officers Memorial Day, which is May 15th, 2018. And I will read that proclamation into the record at this time. Whereas May 13 to May 19, 2018 has been declared nationally as the National Police Week, and Tuesday, May 15, 2018 as Peace Officer Memorial Day. And whereas Crystal Police Department will hold its annual department awards meeting on Monday, May 14th, 2018. And whereas Crystal Police Department will partner with the Crime Prevention Board and host a jail and bail event on Wednesday, May 16th, 2018 from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. At Neighborhood Outreach Office. And whereas the Crystal Police Department will host an annual Retire Coffee event on Thursday, May 17th, 2018, honoring those officers who have served the citizens of Crystal. And whereas Law Enforcement Memorial Day services serves as a reminder to everyone in the community of the sacrifice and commitment to duty by peace officers throughout the country on a daily basis. Now, therefore, I, Jim Adams, Mayor of the City of Crystal, in recognition of National Police Week, join others across the nation to proclaim the City of Crystal support and appreciation for peace officers and proclaim Tuesday, May 15, 2018 as Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Day in the City of Crystal to commemorate those law enforcement of officers nationwide who have made the ultimate sacrifice of their lives for greater good and safety of community, and encourage the community to observe Police Week and Peace Officer Memorial Day with appropriate programs, ceremonies, activities, and the flying of the flag at half-staff on this first day of May 2018. So that is our proclamation, and this is one of those things that we talk about the ultimate sacrifice of our police departments and our police officers, throughout the nation. But there are also other sacrifices that occur that aren't quite as obvious. And we have to keep in mind some of the less obvious ones. And we experienced that in our own department, and we have experienced it in our own department in the last couple of years, and we continue to. We've had some tough years, and it's not without a cost. We can't forget that. We are very happy that we haven't had any loss of lives in Crystal, but that doesn't mean we haven't experienced lives. So it does come home to me. It does come home to this council. So thank you for that, for bearing with me. We do have another proclamation. This one is for Public Works Week, May 20th through May 26th, 2018. Whereas the public infrastructure in the City of Crystal is an integral part of our citizens' everyday lives. And whereas the health and safety and comfort of the City of Crystal residents, visitors, and businesses is greatly dependent upon the public infrastructure and services. And whereas encouraging, understanding, and informed citizenry is vital to the support of the public infrastructure, including transportation, parks, building, forestry, drinking water, sanitary sewers, and surface water. And whereas Support from the community is essential for the Public Works Department to obtain the resources and support that is essential to carrying out the mission. And whereas Crystal Public Works Department is committed to the mission of design, construction, operation, and maintenance of the city public infrastructure. Now, therefore, I, Jim Adams, Mayor of Crystal, do hereby proclaim the week of May 20th through May 26th as Public Works Week and recognize the everyday commitment made by the Public Works Department to the City of Crystal's health, safety, comfort, and overall quality of life, dated this first day of May 2018. So that is our second proclamation, and it's been nice to not to have to rely on them any longer for snow. I'm making a prediction here. So a little bold, I think, but hopefully that will be the end of that responsibility for this first half of the year. Next, we have an appearance here. Chief Revering, are you going to do this introduction? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Thanks for listening to me tonight for a very brief presentation. If I could ask Pat Bedell to come up. So some of you may not know, but retired Chief John Bannock, back in 2009, developed our Crime Prevention Board. And Pat was the lucky recipient of being our first ever Crime Prevention Board president. And she developed a great bond with retired Chief John Bannock. I have continued that bond, consider Pat a friend of mine, and I would like to present her with the appreciation that says, thank you for your volunteer services in your role as president of the board, Crystal Crime Prevention Board, 2009 to 2017. Now, Pat hasn't left our board. She had just stepped down from being our president, and our current president, actually, Brooke Raker, is here. There she is. And one of our Crime Prevention Board members, Carrie, right there, is right there. So we are just thrilled that Pat decided to stay on the board. So, without further ado, Pat, thank you for your years of service. We really appreciate it.
I am going to be the judge yet this year, too, so...
Jail and bail judge.
Jail and bail. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of you. You can join, too. And I'm sure I can dig up something to charge you with.
I'm sure.
But thank you very much. It's been a pleasure serving the city indirectly and on the Crime Prevention Board. I do wish we could have made more money, but we'll continue to try and do it. I'm still going to be the director of the race also for the Run for Rocco.
Awesome.
Nice.
And we want the new Rocco to stay Rocco, so we don't have to change the name for the race. Okay?
Are you talking it into existence now?
Yeah.
All right.
So,
I hope that happens. Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you,
Pat.
Pat.
Oh, I can't imagine what she's going to come up with this year.
You still have your plaque, Pat? Okay, don't forget that. That's fun, too.
a couple of the council members gave me a little more ammunition this year, too.
All right, so
No.
if you're a council
Not
member,
too much.
watch out for jail and bail. All right, we will move on with our agenda items. Next is our consent agenda. I'll read that into the record. First item is approval of minutes for following meetings. Regular council meeting from April 17th, 2018, work session from that same date, and then a joint council meeting between the Planning Commission and the council on April 19th, 2018. Approval of a list of license applicants submitted by the city clerk to the council, and that list is on file in her office. Approval of 2 contribution donations, $750 from Minneapolis Elks, Lodge 44 for the Crystal Airport Open House, and $500 from Rudolph Preby for Post 172 for Crystal Open House as well, Airport Open House. And then approval of a special permit to serve beer and wine at Becker Park for 50 guests to attend a graduation party, submitted by Judith Morales, and approval of a master funding agreement for the city work being completed as part of the Blue Line Extension project. That is our consent agenda. Julie,
I'll move approval as read.
thank you. Looking for a second.
I'll second.
Thanks, Elizabeth. All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Can't get rid of that yet. Next is open forum. This is where the city council will hear from citizens about items of concern. We'd like to set aside some time during each meeting to hear from people and provide ample opportunity for speaking. And we got two people who are interested in speaking at open forum. First, let's start with Bert Ord. Welcome, Bert.
Thank you. Mayor, Council.
Hi,
Bert
Bert.
Ord, 6700 60th Avenue North in Crystal. It'll be brief. I did make it a lot smaller. I believe in the science method. Hypothesis, experiment, results, conclusions. Retests make for clarity. But I also believe that Crystal's credo is transparency. And through our meetings, open houses, publications, website, and interactions with the city, all make this case in point, such as the 20-year project for the parks. My issue comes from on the April 16th last Crystal meeting, there was an agenda item that I was extremely confused about, 5.7. It regarded UDC code changes and zone changes. My request to the mayor and or the council is it possible before implementation of the changes in the UDC code 5 to have an open forum to clarify some of the misunderstandings with regard to that implementation? Thank you. I'm now at your disposal.
So, can I ask you to go into a little bit more detail in terms of?
Some of it anecdotal.
Okay.
Some of it related to kind of like the indecision that regarded it. Some of it, being a volunteer commissioner myself in the Shingle Creek Watershed District, and I know that Crystal's upstanding citizens on the Planning Commission were involved in this suggestion with regard to agenda item 5.7, which is an upgrade of the UDC code 5 changes. All of that sort of put together kind of made me go, what was going on here? And I'm only asking for enough time to have a little more full-throated understanding of why these changes are coming and why certain parties were not sort of recognized and why it all of a sudden seemed to come up suddenly. If I may?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I did talk to you on the phone, Mayor, and you kind of enlightened me, which really allowed me to kind of shorten my speech. I appreciate that. But it was all of that kind of in combination that kind of suggested to me that I was extremely confused about what you guys were trying to do with this upgrade of the UDC Code 5s.
Because of the peripheral stuff that was going on.
And I maybe could say anecdotally, I've been watching what other communities are doing all around the country as well. And with the advent of, say, Airbnb, for example, they're having a lot of problems with people misusing that concept and with people sort of coming in and being sort of almost like squatters in these areas. And I don't want that to happen here in the city of Crystal, such as with these mother-in-law apartments that may be added to any homestead. That's anecdotal. I could develop that with more evidence, but
Okay.
that would just give you a brief. Okay?
I gotcha. Okay.
Anything else?
We can hit that. We'll be talking a lot about that when we hit that agenda item.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you, Bert.
Have a great night.
Thank you, Bert.
You too. Mary Slocum. Could you move? Yeah, thank you. Move that
Yeah,
right in front
I'll
of you.
get it down here. Of course, I don't really need it. Mary Suka, 4736 Xenia Avenue North. I've been gone for 6 months and had to watch you guys on TV from Arizona make a decision that has really affected our neighborhood. And I really want to thank you for all the additional traffic you have given Xenia Avenue. And I just want to talk to you today a little bit about how today went on Xenia Avenue. It wasn't fun. 2 people had to be told to slow down. Now, those were only the 2 people that happened to be there when somebody was willing to go out there and tell them to slow down. The rest of them just kind of breezed through. A neighbor who I had never met before said her kids now can't go to the park because of all the traffic that's happening down on the end of Xenia and 47th. And in an hour, 3/4 of the people that came off of West Broadway took the Xenia Avenue exit and cruised right down the street fast instead of going the way you had planned it, down West Broadway to 47th, which would be an acceptable way. They're not doing it. They're coming right off of West Broadway, and we're watching them as they come off and go down the block. We almost had an accident there at 5 o'clock when one person was bombing down Xenia, and somebody was coming on 47th and obviously didn't know what was going on there, stopped a little bit past the intersection and backed up as this other person was coming down. I mean, it was pretty scary. I mean, I just sat there waiting for the crash. And what's the plan if this doesn't work? What's your backup plan? I know there's been talk about having that exit off of West Broadway closed off, which would be wonderful, and forcing the people down there. Where is that discussion? Because I haven't been able to, attend meetings. I don't know if you're talking about them, can anybody? Well, let me just finish what else I have to say, and then you can come. But my favorite thing that happened today, I have lived in the same house for 50 years. And in all those 50 years, I mean, I still call the bar in the corner the Cabin Bar, okay? I don't even call it Steve-O's. That's how far back I go. Today's the first day I saw a beer truck on Xenia Avenue. Now, those puppies are big, and that's what we got going down the street now, too. And that's kind of unacceptable. I mean, that street is not wide enough for that type of traffic. And, it's been happening. We'll be sitting out there watching and gathering facts for you, because you can look at all the tape marks you want to. That doesn't tell you anything. Come and watch,
Okay.
If it's a nice day tomorrow, we'll all be sitting out there, waving at people
Okay, I think we got your point.
You got my point? Okay, because I can go on and on about it. And so, I guess I'd like to know what, is there some way that we can get a data report on what the daily numbers are that are going down the street?
Okay.
So that's my 2
Okay.
concerns.
If you don't mind, I'm going to respond a little bit. This isn't supposed to be a discussion. We've got your
Oh,
point, but I do want
okay.
to at least let you know that our engineers are watching it.
Mm-hmm.
We don't consider this to be a permanent situation. I think beer trucks will get a little smarter as time moves on.
Mm.
And yes, we have talked about that as an option, but right now we need to see how fast people learn, if they learn, and we're just kind of watching it right now.
Right,
So stand by.
okay.
Okay.
Oh, trust me.
I know you are.
We're there, keeping an eye open because,
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
Thank you for coming in.
Mary, thank you for your eyewitness accounts, too. That's very helpful to you.
Yeah, that's what I
Appreciate it.
figured. You don't know. Like I said, you can look at,
Right.
30 people went down here. Did they go down here real nicely, or did they go down at an excessive speed?
Yeah.
Which makes a big difference.
And you're our eyes and ears, so we appreciate that.
Julie?
I'm sorry?
You're our eyes and ears, so we appreciate that.
Yeah, okay.
Go ahead, Julie.
Mary?
So I was just going to ask the police chief something, or maybe even the city engineer. Do we have plans to have a traffic study, kind of, like a traffic directed patrol on that block for a couple weeks so we have better understanding of the traffic flow and we can answer some of the the residents' questions about increased traffic counts?
Mark and I are going to answer that together.
Okay.
I'll let you go first.
And my answer would be more than sufficient. Right now, we have traffic counters out throughout the neighborhood collecting basically before data. We're going to pull them off the road. We're going to let traffic chill out for a little while and kind of get used to the routines. And then we'll go back and count it again and just do a before and after comparison is kind of the key thing. As far as driver behaviors, we're having cars drive around road closed signs past trucks through Welcome Avenue while we're doing it. So, drivers make poor decisions on a regular basis, and that's something we unfortunately have to deal with.
And we certainly don't have a problem putting out a directed patrol once this is done for the next 2 weeks and then see it from our perspective.
Right.
And gather data as far as how many people are going to be cited for certain violations, educated, if you will.
Because I know that when there was a directed patrol on 47th over by your place, John, for the people that were, I know that there is a very specific detailed report that shows by hour how many cars
Correct.
turn around or, go down, what their average speed is. I mean, they can garner a lot of information from those. Mm-hmm. And I believe those are public reports. Correct? So there will be some data coming out at some point that you can look at and see.
Okay. I think we have one more. What's up?
Regarding the traffic count, I saw you had one on 47th, and then there was one south on Welcome, south of the park. Is there another one on Xenia by any chance?
Yeah, that whole area had them. And some were done late last week, and some are being done now because we had so many counts we had to do. So it's kind of divide and conquer.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, guys. We have one more. Dan, I hope I pronounced this right. Borback?
Close enough. Name like that, you get used to it.
Could you correct me?
Bjorback.
Bjorback.
J sounds like a Y.
Thank you.
Good Nordic name.
In your address?
4743 Xenia. And from my front step, I can see all the way down to the south of the park, and I can see all the way up to Fairview. I can see 6 blocks down Xenia Avenue, and I've been out there watching for the last couple of days, and I can see cars come across the south side of the park, turn north on Xenia, and just keep going right up to Fairview and get onto West Broadway. As I expected was going to happen back in January, they're just coming straight through there. A lot of cars are currently turning to get back over onto Welcome, but it seems like if one does it, we get 5 or 6 in a row, and the traffic has gone up significantly over the last couple of days. Sunday wasn't bad. Monday, not too bad. Today was getting bad. And if they come in groups. And so I encourage you guys to get out there and actually have a look. But I don't know what we're going to baseline it against if the meters are just going in now. What's the baseline? What's the threshold? What's the remediation would be my questions. And I understand, Ann, you sent us a letter saying that we were going to get out there and count it, but the question for follow-up later would be, what are the thresholds?
Yep.
And how long is this test going to be? I don't want to slowly get used to this. This needs to be, my kids need to be able to play out in the yard. They need to be able to walk down to the park without having to worry about getting hit. And there's no room there for boulevards unless we take out a bunch of trees. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. All right, I think that's it for anybody else wishing to speak for open forum. Seeing no one approach, we will close open forum. And we're moving on to our regular agenda. First item on that is the disbursements of $25,000 or larger. First item is the IRS for FICA, federal and FICA withholding taxes for pay date 4/20/2018, $51,827. And Met Council for May wastewater service costs of $127,413. And then Para for the employee and city required contributions for pay date 4/20/2018 of $50,809. Total disbursements of $25,000 or greater is $230,050.27. Looking for any discussion on any of these items or a motion? Anyone? Nancy? Nancy, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve the list of disbursements over $25,000.
Thank you. Julie?
Second.
Thank you. All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right, next we have John Sutter here to address the council, talking about chapters 5 and 7 of the city code. Welcome, John.
Thank you, Mayor Adams, council members. I'm filling in for Dan tonight. This is second reading of proposed amendments to the Unified Development Code. It was mentioned in open forum, this particular item, I think. I have actually 10 slides, but most of the details, the minor items, I was planning to skip because we covered them thoroughly 2 weeks ago, and they were recommended by the Planning Commission. Did not seem to be a lot of discussion about them. So I would like to focus just on a couple of issues that were discussed in detail 2 weeks ago. But the background of this is we did have council work sessions on this, at least 2, I think, over the last year. And then we had a Planning Commission public hearing on April 9th. And again, I will be talking a little bit more about that in a bit. But I want to emphasize that the proposed changes to the UDC were thoroughly reviewed by the Planning Commission prior to them coming to you at the meeting 2 weeks ago on April 17th. So one of the items that generated a lot of discussion 2 weeks ago was a request we received while we were in the process of preparing the UDC amendments for the Planning Commission hearing, a request we received from U-Haul to purchase the former Thriftway building at 5717 West Broadway, and they had asked that we amend our code so that leasing of vehicles would be allowed there. And currently we only allow sale and leasing of motor vehicles in a strip of West Broadway from Corvallis Avenue on the south to 56th Avenue or Bass Lake Road on the north. And they were asking that northern edge of the acceptable area for that activity would be moved up to 58th Avenue to accommodate the former Thriftway property. So we came out of that council meeting with the directive from the council to prepare a text amendment to accommodate the proposed use. Then 3 days later, U-Haul finally met with city staff, and they provided very different and more specific information about how they were going to use the property. It turns out that the uses that they are proposing for the property are already permitted under the city code as it stands today. No code amendments are required. The principal use will be to convert the old Thriftway building into indoor self-storage. And then as an accessory and subordinate use, they will have outdoor truck storage not to exceed 2,000 square feet. That is permitted. They will continue to operate their leasing center, on County Road 81 at 5465 Lakeland Avenue North. They will continue to operate that, and that will be their leasing facility. So this is a complement to that facility, not a replacement for it. So the proposed use, as I said, is already allowed in the city code, and no amendment is needed for U-Haul to proceed. Now, U-Haul may in the future want to extend the leasing activity to the 5717 West Broadway property. And the property owner of the property has now said that they would also like the ability to do that. Staff's opinion and our very strong recommendation here is that because this particular item was not vetted by the Planning Commission. No one talked about this on April 9th. The property owner did not attend the April 9th Planning Commission public hearing. This is the one thing that has not really been reviewed and discussed by the Planning Commission at all. And when I say this one thing, I mean this new proposal that we kind of came up with on the fly 2 weeks ago. It simply hasn't gone through the normal process. So what our recommendation is that if U-Haul, the property owner, doesn't matter, somebody wants to extend motor vehicle leasing to this property, then at any time they are certainly welcome to submit a text amendment application, and we'll run it through the normal process. The reason we rolled it into this process that we already had going is we were trying to be efficient and not have process where it wasn't necessary. And I take responsibility for that. I think this is an example of a time when the process actually would have served a purpose, and we should have done that at that time when U-Haul first submitted their request or expressed their interest in doing leasing there. Because if we'd requested a text amendment application, that would have forced them to put down on paper exactly how they were going to use the property, and this internal U-Haul communication issue would have been resolved. So for that reason, again, I think we tried to do the right thing, ended up causing more problems than we solved. And with that in mind, we would strongly recommend that any additional code changes be considered separately when we actually have a very specific, clear application for what the proposed use of the property is. So I would like to pause there and try to answer any questions there are on this. One final thing I should mention, though, is that the ordinance before you tonight does not have any of the additional language pertaining to the U-Haul property, because we have since learned it is not necessary for the U-Haul proposal to proceed.
Julie?
Well, you know, John, and I know, and many other people know that once that light rail comes in, one of the first properties that's going is that U-Haul leasing place, because that's going to be the parking lot for the park and ride. So my gut is telling me right now that they're going to go in with this storage. And when and if that light rail gets built, they're going to immediately go up there and start leasing vehicles out of there. So I'm.
How do you know that?
I've
been going to meetings for quite some time with the planning of that station, and that remains.
That U-Haul does not.
Yes.
John?
Mayor, may I clarify? The only acquisition is the Schaefer building.
Yep.
The office building in that area. The U-Haul would be the northernmost remaining business property.
Oh, it would, okay.
Yeah. Now, that said, is there the potential for redevelopment of that whole strip south of the park and ride, including U-Haul, the pawn shop, car hop, probably down to Rise is where it would stop? I suppose at some point the market may change, and there might be a developer that wants to do something different there. But that's true of any location in the city. And at that time, again, U-Haul would be free to ask us to change our code to accommodate such a move to the Thriftway site. Our concern is that there's no reason to do that preemptively, since they've said they can operate at the Thriftway site. They can do what they want to do there without changing the code.
Well, then we remember differently, because the reason it sticks so clearly in my mind is one of the things that I was kind of excited about was that maybe the retail shop next to U-Haul might be going away. And I remember hearing that, nope, just U-Haul will be going, but the other one's going to stay. Like, really?
Yeah, the U-Haul was staying all the time, yeah.
Well,
I had a personal conversation with the neighbor closer to the train station, and I remember it specifically that is where it stopped.
okay,
Yep.
okay.
Sorry.
I'm still voting no, because I want a Pittsburgh blue.
There's voting no against.
Well, I mean, when we get to it.
Oh,
The vote.
Can't preemptively vote no.
preemptively vote.
Just telling you where I'm at. Because I just sense that it will turn into a leasing sometime, and that isn't the vision that I have.
Well,
So, clarification,
Yeah.
go ahead, John.
So the ordinance before you does not change the code in any way pertaining to the Thriftway property. It does not change it at all, because no change is necessary for the indoor self-storage and the limited outdoor truck storage as described on this slide to be at the Thriftway location. So there is nothing in the ordinance before you tonight that makes any changes pertaining to the Thriftway property.
So, help me out here. I'm trying to connect these two meetings, and it was crazy at the last one. Proposed to us at the last one was an amendment to forbid the expansion of sales. It's not that.
That's in the code now.
That's in the code now.
So
Okay, great.
So what they said was, hey, maybe if you wanted to write an amendment, we'd bring it back for the second reading.
Okay.
But that's not it. So we actually would be passing tonight the exact same language we passed
Last 2 weeks ago. Okay, perfect. Any other questions?
I have a question.
John?
Thank you, John, for clarification. I brought up at the last council meeting that this is something that should have gone back to the planning commission because it felt like that you had pushed this through and had expedited this to the point where this property could be sold to U-Haul. And I thought that that was unacceptable. Well, slow down, I'm not done yet.
Hold on.
I'm also concerned that
John?
that you have a
John?
relationship with Drew and Terry.
John?
And based on that relationship, you benefited them in terms of selling their property. You had a planning commission that had barely enough information about what was going on with this property. Then at the council meeting, you bring up that the property could possibly be sold to U-Haul, right? That was not information. Now we're finding out now that U-Haul's plans for that property are completely different.
The conspiracy meeting is downstairs.
This is something that
Not up here at the
concerns
table.
me in terms of you,
Jesus, man.
relationship to this property and the people that own the property. You were at a planning commission meeting in October of 2015 with Drew and Terry when they applied for their first CUP. So
that makes me guilty of all your conspiracies.
I think you have a relationship with these individuals and you take care of your friends.
John?
You take care
Enough
of
with
your
the
friends.
personal attacks.
I think this is disappointing.
Quite honestly, what you're saying is not true, categorically, and please stop spinning.
It's there somewhere. I'll find it.
Are you kidding me?
It's funny. I thought the opposite was happening, actually.
You are such a child. God, you are just a child.
I thought that this was to keep them from being able to sell that property, actually.
No, we would have gone back to the planning commission, we would have had more information, they're there to advise us, and that's what my point was the last time.
Okay, John?
And you totally
John?
disregarded all that information,
John.
you added more information to the situation, and you pushed this through.
John, enough. I pushed nothing through. This all came from staff. I have no idea what happened last week. You're done. Wow. All right. Any other questions that aren't conspiratorial? All right. Seeing none. Looking for a motion on this item.
We're not done.
Oh, there's more. Excuse me.
I know. It's not going to be as.
My apologies again on this particular slide. This is staff's mistake. I mean, we tried to expedite things that we shouldn't have, and I think we've learned a lesson here. I can't speak to the council,
John,
but staff's perspective is that we should have changed the way we handle this.
Go ahead, Jeff.
I appreciate you trying to fall on the sword on this. I disagree 100%.
So do I.
I think that. Shut up! I am talking.
Excuse me.
We're in agreement.
God.
You're out of order.
I think what you did is you tried to follow the direction that we've given you, which was to be accommodating to businesses, and so I appreciate it. So I think there's maybe there's some gray area here, but I do appreciate that our task to staff has been to be more business friendly and to remove barriers, and that's what I think tried to happen. I think that it did get a little bit messy, and everybody learned a little bit of a lesson. And that's fine. But it's a moot point now, so I don't know why we're even still talking about it. So let's go on to the next slide. Thank you.
Thank you.
Julie?
Can I ask just one more question? I'll try to be civil. So I'm clear in my mind. So let's just say, for instance, we approve the indoor storage because it's conforming current code. But a year from now, if the U-Haul lot closes on 81, and they come back and they want to have that option to have the vehicle leasing at that time, then it would go before the planning commission again for their recommendation or non-recommendation to allow it north of Bass Lake Road. Am I understanding this correctly?
Yes, they would have to apply for a text amendment of some sort.
Okay.
I don't know exactly what, because it depends on how they're proposing to use or change their use in that scenario of the Thriftway property. But at that point, they would have to spell that out.
Okay.
And it would go back through the planning commission process before it comes back to the council for a decision. I do want to do one correction, though, there, that because the U-Haul's proposal, as we now understand it, is permitted by our ordinance, no planning commission or council approval is required. It will not come back to you. They'll simply get a building permit to renovate the building and a site plan approval from staff to fix up the parking lot or whatever they're going to do there. It will not be coming back to you because it's a permitted use.
Okay.
Okay. Are you good?
I was just going to clarify that point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, can I just say? So just to also clarify, if there had been any conspiracy here, it would have been a very bad one because we didn't have all the information. If we had had all the information, nothing like this would have happened at all.
Thank you. Yep. Did you have any more on your report?
Not on this item, but I do want to talk about the only other area where what you approved at first reading was not consistent with the Planning Commission recommendation, just because everything else was. And that was the bottom half of this slide, that for accessory dwelling units that the Planning Commission had recommended retaining the requirement that the property must be owner occupied to have an accessory dwelling unit. And the first reading ordinance and the one in your packet tonight for second reading does not have, or will remove that requirement from the current code. So the reason I just wanted to mention that is because it's the only thing in the ordinance in your packet tonight where there is any difference between what the Planning Commission reviewed on April 9th and what you are being asked to adopt tonight with second reading. Everything else is exactly consistent. And that is all I have.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Looking for a motion.
I'll move approval.
Looking for a second. Nancy?
I'll second.
All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Motion is, or let's take a roll.
Councilmember Cole.
Aye.
Councilmember LaRoche.
Aye.
Councilmember Parsons.
Aye.
Mayor Adams.
Aye.
Councilmember Budaszewski.
Nay.
Councilmember Dahl.
Aye.
Councilmember Deschler.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-1.
Thank you. John?
And then there is one additional action that's requested tonight so that we can save publication costs. We ask that you adopt the resolution for summary publication of these ordinance amendments.
All right, looking for a first on that. Olga?
I'll move approval.
Second.
I'll second.
Elizabeth? All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Let's take a roll.
Councilmember LaRoche.
Aye.
Councilmember Parsons.
Aye.
Mayor Adams.
Aye.
Councilmember Budaszewski.
Nay.
Councilmember Dahl.
Aye.
Councilmember Deschler.
Aye.
Councilmember Cole.
Yeah.
Motion carries 6-1.
I was first last time. I was last this time. I don't.
All right.
Clearly, I'm a little off my game tonight.
Thank you, John. Let's see, we are on item 7.3. The council will consider the first reading of an ordinance amendment to Chapter 4 and 6 of the City Code pertaining to disorderly properties. We have our city attorney here, Troy Gilchrist, to address the council. Welcome, Troy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. This is an item that you've discussed as a council at least 3 times, actually I think 4 times in work session. And basically, council a number of months ago gave direction to staff to attempt to address disorderly property concerns, specifically the negative impacts that they can have on neighboring properties and on associated city resources, particularly but not limited to law enforcement resources. And so what staff did is they looked around to other communities to see what they've done in this regard, and as well as looked at your current code. And what you, and essentially the result was a merging of what we've seen in other communities as well as what's in your code. And currently what's in your code relates to disorderly properties, but right now it's limited to rental properties. And so in Chapter 4, I believe it is, there's currently a list of disorderly property offenses, and then it talks about a 3-strike process, but it's limited to 3 strikes against the license, with the final strike resulting in review by the council and potential license action by the council. So the idea of expanding on that concept to really make it applicable to all the properties, not just rental properties in the city, was, again, an idea that was borrowed in some respect from other communities and brought together with the rental provisions. So the rental provisions with respect to disorderly properties were pulled out of 4, and the new language regarding disorderly properties were merged into a new section that you have before you that attempts to address both issues in a parallel fashion, since they're both dealing with disorderly properties. And so what you have is, with respect to the rental license piece of it, really there's no change on that. It still has its same process where 3 strikes, 3 separate verified incidents can result in, will result in notices and eventually review by the council. Parallel to that now, that is applicable to all properties, is an administrative penalty process that deals with disorderly properties. So same list of potential offenses that can give rise to disorderly properties. This ordinance makes it clear that it's based on verified incidences. Verified in that it's law enforcement verified. It's not just unfounded calls from a pesky neighbor or something like that. These actually have to be verified by law enforcement. Only one verified incident can arise from an incident, so there isn't a stacking of multiple potential incidences out of one response. And so essentially the way it works is after a first verified incident, the city gives notice and says, if you have another one, you're subject to an administrative penalty. And of course, it doesn't recreate the administrative penalty process that's already in the code, and so it just refers to it. Second strike within, or second incident within 12 months will result in the issuance of an administrative citation and the associated penalty at the same amount as is currently in your code. And then after that, third strike, fourth strike, all within 12 months result in subsequent. So the idea is that if a property is truly disruptive to the neighborhood, disorderly activities occurring on it, police resources are being called to it, there is an administrative penalty component that's related to it. And of course, as is true with all administrative citations, already built into the code is the appeal process, so review by an a hearing officer. So there is due process involved in this as well as retaining the due process that currently exists with respect to the rental licensing. So that's obviously a nutshell, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions from council? Nancy?
Just regarding the civil penalties, this would be on page 4. Were these adjusted? I'm sorry, I don't remember from discussion last time. Is this in line with the actual cost to the city, do you feel? Administrative costs? Do these help recover enough, the proposed penalties?
Well, Mr. Mayor and council, staff could better answer that than I, but my impression is that no, it's probably not enough to cover. Yeah. But I can tell you it is, as was discussed at the last work session, those numbers are already in the penalty section, or in your fee schedule, I should say. So it's not trying to create a separate or enhanced sort of administrative penalty process. It's just adopting that for disorderly property.
Okay.
So I would also like to respond to that question. I think that's kind of a subjective question in terms of does the fee pay for every cost of staff? I think the answer is clearly no. But there are other fees associated with licensing that may or may not cover those costs as well. So that's what kind of makes it gray, and they're all different.
Yeah.
They're all different based on the licensure. So, any other questions? Julie?
I will move approval of amending the chapters of the Crystal City Code related to disorderly property.
Thank you. Olga?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right, next the council will consider a resolution awarding the contract for the painting of the water slide support structure. Our city engineer and public works director, Mark Ray, is here to talk to us about that. Welcome, Mark.
Good evening, Mayor, member of the council. The 2017 capital budget included $45,000 for railings. We did the work in-house and only spent just under $12,000 in material. It's a little over $30,000 balance remaining. We're proposing to use the balance of that available to paint the support structure. We did obtain 2 quotes from some pretty reputable painting companies, Rainbow Incorporated and Sunrise Painting. So why is rust bad? It's an indication there's a chemical reaction between the metal and the elements. This means that the metal is exposed to air and water, and basically the metal is somewhat losing some strength. As you can see in some of the photos, this is occurring at the weight transfer points of the superstructure. So really this painting is more to encapsulate the metal, to protect it from the elements, to maintain the structural integrity than it is about appearance, although they are related long term. So with that, the requested action is a motion to approve the resolution awarding the contract for painting.
Julie? I just can't help myself, but, you know, I see $29,000 is the lowest bid, $29,800 to paint a water slide.
You should see a water tower.
Well, whatever. I mean, what do you think, how many days does it take to complete this project, and how many people would work on it? Because, you know, to me, in my mind, you could paint like 10 houses for that, which seems like it would be a lot more work than painting a slide.
So the challenge, I'm not sure exactly how they're going to staff it. The challenge is that there's a lot of handwork as you're up around these critical joints where we need to get the paint in there. So while it looks like a big structure, there's a lot of more detail work as you work around the connection points and the superstructure. You know, you can't just go out there with a blaster because you're going to be shooting spray everywhere, and you can't really encapsulate like the water slides to get a good paint edge there. So you have to manually go in there and make sure you get a good
like
cover.
A power washer or something work for that? I mean, to get some of that rust off, or?
No. Well,
I don't know. I'm not in construction,
Yeah.
so I'm not. It just, you know, I look at $29,000
Yes, it's not fun.
and I just gasp, thinking, "Oh, to paint a slide."
Well, that's one of the reasons we try to always remind of, yes, the capital cost is fun, but maintenance is never fun either.
Okay. I'm gonna, you know, I'm all about making sure our water slide is great for the kids. So.
Yes.
And adults too.
Yes. Any other questions? John?
2 questions. First of all, have we worked with Rainbow Incorporated before?
Yeah, we did. I believe the ones that painted the old shed last year.
Okay. And then secondly, I'm looking at their proposed bid. I mean, it doesn't seem to have a lot of detail. It's pretty much like they just...
Yeah, that is correct. Actually, Brad did go meet with them on site as well as the other one to make sure that they were all on the same page as what's been done. So while this is fairly thin, it's actually, the scope is well worked out between Brad and the vendor, actually both of them, so that we're comparing apples to apples in the cost, because I know there's a fairly large cost difference.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Nancy?
What's the timeline estimate? This would get done before the pool opens?
Theoretically, yes, but probably not,
Okay.
because winter just decided to leave, so a lot of work has been selectively pushed.
Okay,
So hopefully yes, but I would not commit to that.
okay. Just thinking about New Hope Pool being closed and kids anxious to get on it.
So we would hold off on painting until after the season's over then. So the pool, this will be open and functional. We'll just
Excellent.
do it later.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Olga?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you. Looking for a second?
I'll
Nancy?
second.
Thank you. All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. So we are on to the announcements. The Parks and Recreation Commission will be holding its annual Arbor Day celebration to clean up on Wednesday, May 2nd. That's tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. at Kentucky Park. The next council meeting will be Tuesday, May 15th, 2018, 7 p.m., and that is here at City Hall. The CBA will be meeting on Wednesday, May 16th at 8:30 a.m. at Becker Park. Crime Prevention Board is hosting its annual jail and bail fundraiser, which we talked about earlier. That is Wednesday, May 16th from 11 to 1 at the Neighborhood Outreach Office. Crystal Fund Plant Sale is Saturday, May 19th, and that's 2 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Crystal Community Center.
9 a.m.
9 a.m., excuse me. Is this the one where you bring in, you split up your perennials and you bring them in, and that's how the sale is essentially funded?
You donate them.
Right.
You can donate
You
those.
donate
To the
those?
Crystal Fund. Yeah, they'll
Crystal
come
Fund.
pick them up
So,
for you right at your curb, which is really very convenient.
okay.
let them know.
So that's an important component of this. So.
Makes it very easy.
All right. Next, the Crystal Airport Open House is on Sunday, June 17th. Girl Scouts and Boy Scout troops are invited to lead the Pledge of Allegiance at any city council meeting. Troops are interested, please contact staff for more information. Council meetings and work sessions are open to the public. Current and previous meetings are available for viewing and listening at our website, crystalmn.gov. Any other announcements? Nancy.
Going back to Step To It, I have two actually. I'll be hosting Saturday morning Step To It walks at Valley Place Park at 8 o'clock. We did it last year. It was a lot of fun. And Hennepin County, thanks to Hennepin County and our Crystal Rec Department, we have some goodies to give away as well. So if you'd like to join me and get your steps in, that would be great. And also I wanted to just give a shout out to a local business. I saw it in our news brief.
Yes.
About Randy's Booth Company was named Family-Owned Business of the Year by the U.S. Small Business Administration. The Minnesota 2018 Family-Owned Business of the Year, owned by, and I hope I don't massacre his name, Bert Kissenduff. Company designs and manufactures custom hospitality furnishings in Crystal and gives back a lot to the community. So I want to give him a shout out.
Okay, thank you for that. Anyone else? I got one quick one. Kate Perkins of The Voice will be performing May 12th at SVCC, 6 p.m. I know they're having some chefs come and do hors d'oeuvres at 6. The performance starts at 7. It's kind of a fun thing. It's family friendly. I think tickets are $10, and there's no alcohol served there, so it's family friendly.
What is SVCC, Serenity Village?
Serenity Village Community Church.
Okay.
Yep. This is, last week they held the High and Mighty one, and Travell did the hors d'oeuvres. Outstanding. Outstanding, so.
We need to talk to them about we need to talk to them and see if they'll be willing to help us hit the ball.
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. So I'm not going to tell you about the scallops or the ribs, but they were outstanding. And then there will be one more May 26th where G.B. Layton is going to be performing, and a different chef from a different restaurant will be doing apps there. So pay attention to that. That's a great night out if you're not doing anything. So.
Sounds fun.
All right.
Or if you're doing something. That could be the thing you were doing.
It could be the thing you're doing. Absolutely. All right, looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Looking for a second.
I'll second that.
Thanks, Olga. All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Enjoy the warm weather. It's
Okay.
about time.